Hello, welcome. We are so excited to continue our series that is focused entirely on mental health and Gen Z. So, you are in the right place if you are joining for a conversation with notOK app. We are so delighted to be talking with one of the teen creators. It comes from a pair of siblings, and Charlie, one of the creators, is going to be joining us in just a moment to share more about what inspired this app, how you can use notOK app in your own communities, in your own families, in your own workplaces. So I see them join. Let's bring Charlie into the live and let him share more about who he is and why he created this. Hi, Charlie.
Hi!
I'm Marta. I'm with Springtide, and we are so proud of the work you and your sister have done and really honored that you would take time to talk with us today.
Thank you so much. Honestly, this means so much that you guys are having us on. Mental health is so important, and I'm just so glad that people are actually taking time out of their day to talk on it.
We are too. We are too. And this conversation, besides everyone who's joining live, will live on because we have a whole commitment in 2022 and beyond for all of our research out of Springtide to be narrowing in on mental health. And we're looking at the ways that different organizations can become more mental health friendly for the young people involved, whether that's workplaces or schools or faith communities or homes, and beyond. So we would just love to hear more about who you are. Can you just give us a small snapshot of who Charlie is and maybe some things you're passionate about, what you're doing in school?
Yeah, cool. Hi, I'm Charlie. I'm a 17-year-old game and app developer. I'm a junior in high school. I'm After school, I kind of just go home and I like do homework. I bake and I program, and I've been getting into like making games specifically recently, as I just got my Unity Associates Game Developer certification 3 days ago. So that's
Congrats!
yeah. Thank you so much. It was so hard. It was so hard.
I don't even
But
know
yeah.
what that is, but it sounds super impressive. Like the fact that you're 17 and you already have your own company and you're already designing apps and games and getting these certifications and then finding time to do baking after school, no big deal. That is really cool to hear. You're so well-rounded.
Thank
I
you so much.
I love hearing about your passion. So yes, you're a junior in high school. I got that right.
Yeah.
How old were you then when you developed the notOK app?
Ooh, I was 12 when we actually started developing it. I
Wow.
feel old now.
You are old now. 5 years ago, this has been out in the world for several years now, making a big impact. And with Springtide, devoted to listening to 13 to 25-year-olds, you were even too young when you started in the app to fall within our research. But now you're squarely in it as a 17-year-old. You're clearly talented when it comes to using technology and harnessing it to really impact mental health concerns. Can you just let our followers know what is notOK app? How does it work? What's the concept?
Yeah, so the Not Okay app, it's basically just a digital panic button that when pressed, it sends a text message to your pre-selected up to five closest contacts with a text message that says, "Hey, I'm not okay. Come call me, text me, or come check up on me," along with your current GPS location and directions.
So cool. So I recently downloaded the app and my trusted contacts were like, "Oh, what is this?" Because they automatically got a notification that was like, "Marta has added you as one of her trusted contacts." And they got this really helpful setup of what to expect should I need to tap that panic button myself. Is that the right term? The panic button?
Yeah, we like to call, yeah, it's a panic button, but we like to more refer to it as like a panic de-escalation button. So you don't really have to get to like that 10 out of 10 panic. it's more designed so you could like hit it when you're at like I don't know like a 3 to like a 7 or like an 8, so you can really de-escalate it before it gets to that point. But yeah,
Yeah,
no, I
I'm glad
love
you
that part.
mentioned that because it's not just for mental health crisis. It includes that, but it could be other health needs, right? Other physical health
Yeah,
needs.
we actually designed it when I was designing it initially. I made it. It was kind of like a selfish app. It wasn't really supposed to like be used by like all of these people that are using it. I created it for my sister who suffers from a chronic illness called POTS, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, which basically just makes her faint. And we actually made it so that she could just press the button right before she passed out, so that people would know where she was when she was like hitting the floor, like fully out.
That's amazing. That's amazing that that real life scenario that had to be very scary for you and your sister and your family unit that scary situation inspired something that is impactful for so many. How many people? Do you have a sense of how many downloads you've had on Android and Apple?
I don't think I've checked within like the past few weeks, but I think altogether we have around 175,000 downloads
Oh
across the
my
world.
goodness. That is incredible. Kudos that
It's insane.
your reach, yeah, it's global and pushing 200,000. And those are just the people who've downloaded the app because to be a trusted contact getting notifications, you don't necessarily have to have the app, correct?
Yeah, you don't actually have to have the app. That's actually one of the things that we were making. We were actually creating like the app itself because we realized that like everyone who was a trusted contact needed to download the app. A lot of trusted contacts would just not be able to like fulfill their duties as a trusted contact. So it just sends a text message directly to the trusted contact from the app itself.
So you don't have to be the most tech savvy person to even take advantage of this. You just need to be able to receive a text message that then has all of the information you would need in terms of location and how to best follow up with the person who's reaching out for support. So you can have up to five, but you could also list just one, just two trusted contacts, and then they simultaneously get notifications. Is that correct, Charlie?
Yeah, when you press the button, all of the trusted contacts get the same notification at the same time. I personally don't even use all five. I only have three trusted contacts, just people that I know that like could help me during that moment. But you don't need to use all five. Yeah.
That's great to know. So, I mean, our research this coincides with a lot of our research in terms of what we call a lot of times trusted adults. And our research has found the more trusted adults a young person has in their life, the less likely they are to experience extreme loneliness, extreme social isolation. But this is intergenerational, meaning you could have peers supporting, you could have trusted adults supporting, you could have a combination of the two. But those people who you feel like they know me, they care about me, and they want to look out for me no matter what the situation is, whether it's a physical health need, a mental health need, or maybe those two are overlapping in some way. Something I learned about the app that I think is so cool is that after the user presses the button asking for support, they get like a breathing simulation even to kind of coach them through their present circumstance. Can you say a bit more about that?
Yeah, we actually designed it like initially we didn't really have all these features in mind, but in one of our latest updates, after you press the button, it leads you through an inhale, hold, exhale cycle just to calm you down when you're waiting for your trusted contacts to respond so that you're actually doing something and so that you're being distracted from currently what you're doing.
I
Yeah.
think I love that. So it's not only sending out a sort of SOS to the people that you trust to check in on you, it's also meeting you in your present need. And we know breath support is major for a whole host of physical and mental experiences. We had a therapist we spoke with earlier in this series who talked a lot about breath work and how foundational that is to address experiences of stress and anxiety. So I love that those updates continue to take the app to the next level to keep meeting even more needs. I'm
Yeah.
wondering if you can share any stories, if they're, leaving out any privacy details, of course, but any
Yeah.
stories about impact of where this tool really was a key intervention that changed a scenario for one of your users.
Well, one of my favorite stories, that I personally have like seen and I've actually read like in like real time with people is the story of a mother messaging us on like Instagram and then also leaving a review, saying that our app actually saved her daughter's life
Wow.
because she pressed it before she was about to jump out of her window,
Wow.
and attempt. And personally, when I read that, I was about 15 at the time, and I had no idea about like the actual impact that this app would be making on people. And I was still kind of in the state of being like, yeah, I just made this for my sister, but it just happens to be going well. But that really put it all into
Hmm.
perspective in me, like, wow, I could actually be helping a lot of people in the world, and just the heartfelt message that she left for us, just saying that it saved her daughter's life and that without it, her daughter might not have been here anymore. And it just put everything into perspective for me.
No kidding. That's incredibly impactful. I mean, this is literally a life saving tool and it's free, right? I don't know, I'm
Yeah.
guessing you have some sort of funding, but you provide this at no cost to your users?
Yeah, we are a 501(c), sorry, supported nonprofit, so the app is actually free and open to all of our users. We didn't want to actually charge for mental health services or mental health help because a lot of people do, and it just narrows the amount of people that can actually get the support that they need, because there's already like a pay gap in a lot of mental health services with
Yeah.
like therapy or emergency services, and we just wanted to help close that gap and get people the help that they need.
Well, you're clearly doing it on a host of fronts where you're not even necessarily always hearing those messages, but when you do get that feedback, I can only imagine how impactful it is, like you described. I'm I'm really impressed that you really recommend your users to take advantage of other mental health services in tandem with notOK app. That you say notOK app is a pre-crisis tool, but you still encourage everyone in the notOK app community to take advantage of other resources to further their own understanding of how they can support different mental health needs in their communities. And I know on your website you link out to mental health first aid, which I've gone through several mental health first aid trainings myself. Can't recommend it highly enough to all of our followers, whether you have young people in your home, whether you're an educator or a leader in an after school program or a faith community, a boss who has Gen Z members on your staff, and beyond. I would love to give an extra shout out to doing mental health first aid training. Can you say a bit, Charlie, about how you feel like that training, that support can go hand in hand with the users and the trusted contacts utilizing your service?
Yeah, I also believe that mental health first aid training is so integral to like any workplace or any school or anything around the lines of that. Just even if you're like a parent, just so you can know how to respond to these difficult situations that a lot of people are not actually trained or told how to respond to. And I think that notOK works hand in hand with mental health training because one of the most important things that you're taught how to do in mental health training is make a kind of like a response kit, something that when like I don't know when it's either pre-crisis or you notice that something's actually going on, like kind of a kit to know what to do during those situations. And I've actually heard a lot of users of ours actually say that notOK is a part of the response kit. Basically, just when you notice that something's going on, just say, hey, there's this app that you might want to use if you ever feel like you're getting to that place, or if you ever feel like you really need help, but like no one else is around you. Uh, and our app can actually be integral to a lot of those response kits. So,
So well said. I mean, you even list out one of the acronyms that you learn in mental health first aid training that that helps you if you are one of those trusted contacts of like, what do I do? What do I say? I don't know how to respond. That kind of guides you through a step-by-step acronym of how to assess the situation and how to best communicate your support for the person who's reaching out for help, or who's saying, "Hey, I'm not okay," for whatever the circumstance might be. So you've heard it from Charlie, you've heard it from me. Let this be an extra service announcement to go to mentalhealthfirstaid.org, I believe. Do I have the URL correct?
Yes, I think yeah, it is mentalhealthfirstaid.org. And you could
Awesome.
go check that out on our app or just type that into any search bar that you can. Please educate yourself on mental health because it can be the difference between life and death in a lot of situations.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I mean, I would love to, maybe we'll have a future Instagram live where we talk with someone who facilitates those trainings, because they can be so formational, to really intervene in a situation. But you can still respond as a trusted contact without that training. We're just recommending it as an extra way to gird yourself, should a crisis arise where you can help support a young person or a peer, or anyone in your family or circle of support. You shared that really wonderful story about that mom who reached out. Have you had any other peer-to-peer situations where it's not always a parent and a young person, but even just a friend saying, "Hey, I was able to check up or follow up with someone my own age from this"?
Yeah, personally, I've actually had a story like that where one of my friends had to use, where one of my friends used the notOK app to reach out and say, "Hey, I'm not feeling good. Like, can you come check up on me because I'm afraid of what might happen to, like, if I'm alone." One of my friends actually sent me a notOK app alert at about like 10 p.m. like 2 years ago, and I said, "Hey, like, what's up? Like, what's wrong? Do you want to talk about it?" And we ended up just sitting on a call for about like an hour and a half, kind of talking through stuff and kind of just talking through like everything that was happening because it was like 2020, COVID was going on. It
Yep.
was like a very difficult time for a lot of people, especially with mental health. And we ended up just talking it out. And honestly, I could see that it actually helped being able to just press a button and not have to send the text saying, "Hey, I need help. Can you text me or like call me right now?" Because a lot of the times, like I know I personally have done it, people type out the message and then delete it and then type it out and then
Mhm.
delete it without actually ever sending it.
Totally. Totally. Oh, I'm really glad you brought up that point, because maybe some people listening are thinking, okay, why do I need a separate app? But you're right. Sometimes you don't have the willpower to type out a message. So when you set up the app, you can pre-script a message. It has a default message, and then there's a second option where you can add a personal message that would go out to your contacts. So maybe there's a health concern where you need to notify something about making sure you've been administered an EpiPen. I'm just making up that scenario off the top of my head, but you could give an extra directive that is relevant to your situation, that when you're in that moment of need, you're not having to fumble through typing it out. Or like you just said, Charlie, that sometimes you type it and then you doubt, oh, am I being too whatever, and you don't
Yeah.
hit send. It takes out that extra energy and work, and when you're not in the right headspace, maybe to fully type that and hit send. So literally pressing one button, you've already done the pre-work, and that one button can be life-saving. I
Yeah.
can't commend you and your sister enough how much you've taken a personal situation and allowed it to be in service to so many people. How can people get the app? How can people follow your work? I want to make sure we make it really clear so our followers can get this free resource into their hands on their phones in their communities.
Yeah, you can follow us on our not on our Instagram, which I am using, which I think I'm using for this live right now. At notOK app. It's at notOK app on Facebook, on Twitter, and also on Instagram. You can download the notOK app on any app store that you really have available to you. We're on the Google Play Store, the App Store, the Apple App Store, and I think basically every other app store that you can get your hands on. Yeah, and you can find us online by just looking up our webpage, notokapp.com, where you can find out more information and also donate because we are a nonprofit.
Oh, I'm glad you said that. I would be honored myself because I'm already really excited to circulate this resource with the young people and with other networks and communities in which I'm connected and in which Springtide is so pleased to shout this out. We are, as I said at the top of this conversation, we are zeroing in on mental health through all of our research and reporting in 2022 and beyond. And one of our big key reports is about to release in just a few weeks. It's called Mental Health and Gen Z, What Educators Need to Know. And we've done a deep dive into research to look at school settings, middle school, high school, and higher ed, and ways that campuses can not only do crisis response, but try to just change the culture and the climate of how they're operating, because we know mental health is such a real reality for Gen Z, for young people, and it's exacerbated by COVID, like you mentioned as well. So you're a high school junior, you can think back to middle school, maybe you're looking onto higher ed opportunities. When you think about the expanse of your education in different school and campus settings, I'm wondering if there's anything you've noticed where you've seen a campus or a school become more mental health friendly.
Personally, I actually noticed that within my middle school, because I did launch this app and actually start doing this app when I was in like about sixth grade. When I was in middle school, again, like most counselors in like the US aren't really focused on, they're not really that focused on actual like mental health training. They're more focused on like school education and like GPA. Even like middle school. So when I actually came up with the app, I actually talked to my counselors and they started changing more things to actually focus on like the mental health of their students, especially during that time because middle school age children experience like the very beginnings of like mental health complications and illnesses like at that age. Like it actually starts beginning, like depression starts developing in children at that age, anxiety. So I actually started talking to my counselors and they started creating initiatives around the school to start talking to kids about their struggles with mental health. And I think they're still
Kudos.
continuing it now.
I mean, that is always so encouraging for me to hear. You're in Georgia, correct?
Yes.
I mean, we talk to young people nationwide, and I hear more and more hopeful stories like what you just shared, where a lot of young people are going to their counselors, teachers, administrators, and saying, "Hey, I want to see us destigmatizing mental health. I want to see us offering different resources, starting even in middle school, like you did." So you're not only creating this app, you're creating places of conversation and learning. And when I talk to a lot of young people, especially on this podcast series we're just about to release on mental health and Gen Z, so many youth and young adults have said, you know what? One of the places I'm hearing about mental health now is my school, is my campus, and it wasn't always that way. So I think there is a bit of a exciting and necessary turning point that's happening that you described from your experience as well. Are there any other changes that you would want to see happen in schools and campuses when it comes to mental health support?
Especially with high school and especially with counselors in high school, as I mentioned, they're extra focused on their college counselors. They're not there for mental health. There's no real mental health counselors, administrators, or like on school therapists that are there to help people. And I would honestly love to see that change because, again, a lot of people are struggling, especially like schools and kids who are taking like 4, 5, 6 AP classes like a year focusing on college. And I think that that would help a lot of kids prevent being burnt out when they actually go to college and actually be able to help them with their mental health struggles while they're in high school and actually open up the conversation so that they feel comfortable talking to like the trusted adults at that high school or talking to the counselors there and opening up like the conversations.
That's great. The distinction you're making between college readiness, which you're not saying discontinue that, but you're saying beyond college readiness, we need to have different supports in place that have mental health training and have more mental health focus beyond, like you
Yeah.
said, GPA and getting your application ready, which is wonderful. But how can counselor support be zeroed in on mental health aspects? That's a great recommendation. I love hearing the ways that young people in Gen Z in particular are like, we care about mental well-being, and we want to make sure that just the way we take care of our physical health and learn about that often in school settings, that we're also learning about our mental health. And I think other generations have a ton to learn from you and your peers, and clearly from you. You're so impressive. So I am delighted that you would take time out today, and can't echo my appreciation and praise enough. Follow notOK app on social. Find them online, download them wherever you get apps. Like Charlie said, they're in all of the app stores that you might utilize. And Charlie, what are you baking today? It's after school. What's next on the menu, since baking is a hobby besides all the coding and technology stuff you do?
Since it's now spring, how did you know I was baking something? Yeah, I was gonna make hot cross buns. So I
Perfect.
also found
Yes.
one of my old recorders from like elementary school in my room. So I was just gonna make like a batch of hot cross buns and pop them in while I was doing my homework as soon
Did
as
you
it
say
was
a
done.
recorder, like an old school record? Yes. Oh my gosh. You're going to do the hot cross bun song, please.
Yeah, yeah, immediately after.
This is a themed baking adventure. There is music involved. There is reminiscing on childhood. I love it.
Thank you. There's a
Charlie,
theme. It's camp.
it's awesome. It's awesome. You are phenomenal. We are cheering you on every step of the way with the great work you and your sister Hannah have done. Send her our best, and thank you again for the impact you're having on mental health for your peers and their trusted contacts and adults beyond.
Cool. Thank you. Have a great day. And honestly, it was amazing talking to you.
It's a pleasure. Thanks again.
Bye.